It's time for the Josh Kirby on Sports Podcast.
On this edition of the Kirby on Sports Podcast, we'll be breaking down Week 11 in the NFL for you, including a Seattle revenge win over Arizona. The New England Patriots fall to the Houston Texans. The Dallas Cowboys finally get a much-needed win. Upset in Indianapolis as the Colts beat the Packers. Kansas City, a revenge game beating Las Vegas. And Tampa Bay can't seem to shine on Monday night. All that, plus line them up with Zach Ruff. All that and so much more. But before we begin, we would like to thank our brand new sponsor at Regroup Building Services, specializing in custom homes, remodels, additions, and so much more. If you're looking for a new place to call home or just need repairs on your current home, look no further. Regroup Building Services has you covered. Make sure you check them out today at www.regroupbuildingservices.com. Once again, that's regroupbuildingservices.com. We do the honeydews that your honey don't. Make sure you tell them Josh sent you. We are also sponsored by PM Plus Reserves, now expanding their territory to serve the I-81 corridor from Hagerstown, Maryland to Stanton, Virginia. All right, it's time for another edition of the Kirby on Sports Podcast, starting right now.
Glad you connected. This is Dave Johnson, voice of the Washington Wizards. You have connected to the right place because you are listening to my man, Josh Kirby, on Sports Podcast.
Another week. That means another edition of the Kirby on Sports Podcast. What's up, my people? Welcome back. I'm your host, Josh Kirby. Pleased to be with you. Thanks for stopping in and listening to the Kirby on Sports Podcast. As always, we're sponsored by Regroup Building Services and PM Plus Reserves. Big thanks, as always, to MPT Now Productions, Dave Johnson, and Productions by Quet for all their support as well. We have yet another jam-packed show to get to. Week 11 in the National Football League. It was a crazy week of some highs and some lows, so let's get right into it. Enough with the pleasantries. The Seattle Seahawks take a revenge game from Arizona. Last time Seattle played was in Arizona, and they lost on Sunday night in overtime, and Seattle bounced back. Russell Wilson, with this win, I feel like this sort of means that the MVP talk for Russell Wilson is still a thing because, the Seahawks have been struggling the past couple of days, past couple of weeks, so to speak. They're 7-3 still. And although the numbers didn't look excellent for Russell Wilson, he did throw for 2 passing touchdowns. And I really think that Russell Wilson is still in the running for MVP. There are other candidates, don't get me wrong, that I like, but I'm just a huge supporter of Russell Wilson getting the MVP for this season. No turnovers in this game, which was great. Seemed to be a pretty even matchup, so to speak. But Kyler Murray, I want to get to Kyler Murray here because Murray looked decent. 29 for 42, 269 yards and 2 touchdowns. But it seemed like later in the game, Kyler was nursing a shoulder injury, and every time he came off the field, they were working on his shoulder. So Kyler seemed to be in some discomforting pain, not enough to take him completely out of the ball game, but still, Kyler, I feel like the way the Cardinals played this game, they put the ball in Kyler's hands to throw more. You got Fitzgerald, 8 receptions, 62 yards. Hopkins, 5 receptions, 51 yards. And Kirk, 4 receptions for 50 yards. So Kyler was throwing to the weapons, but when you only have 57 yards on the ground in this game with Kyler and a shoulder injury, I feel like that played a big part on how the Seahawks were able to capitalize. Not to mention that this game did come down to the final play, Kyler Murray getting sacked on 4th down. So this game could have easily been won by Arizona, but I think they ran out of gas. And I haven't heard anything about Kyler Murray and what their ruling is on him. I expect him to play next week. I did not hear anything, like I said earlier, but that shoulder injury played a big part, in my opinion, on how this Cardinals team. This was such an even matchup. I feel like it could have gone either way. It was just another great game to watch on Thursday night. But came down to the last play, and hopefully Kyler will be healthy for next week, because that's a huge blow if that shoulder can't get healed up by next Sunday's slate of games. So enough with that one. That's Seattle 28-21 over Arizona. The next matchup to cover in our slate of games, the Texans and the Patriots. The Texans, a much-needed win. They were struggling. They're 3-7. New England falls to 4-6. What really surprised me at this game, Deshaun Watson had weapons, and he utilized those weapons. Watson, 20 for 37, 344, and 2 touchdowns. But 3 of his highest passing receivers in this game did not score a touchdown. So obviously, Watson was spreading the ball out. You have Will Fuller, 6 receptions, 80 yards. Jordan Atkins, 5 receptions, 83 yards. Brandon Cooks, 4 receptions, 85 yards. And not to mention QT and Randall Cobb with touchdown passes as well. So clearly, the Texans were spreading the football, and it was working. The running game just wasn't effective, but the Texans seemed to make things work with this Patriots defense. Patriots lost by 7, but still, Cam Newton, I feel like he's trying to become a better pocket passer, throwing for 365 yards and a touchdown. But it's not working yet. And I feel like that just goes to show you that Newton and Belichick have a system they're trying to implement. But I think it's too late for New England. To be completely honest with you, New England seems like a team that is just going to be rebuilding this year. Because 4-6... this is unheard of for a New England Patriots organization, because for the past 20 seasons, we all know Tom Brady was with the Patriots. So that just goes to show you that this team, losing Tom Brady, and with a bunch of the players opting out due to COVID-19, that there's something going on that needs to get fixed. And I feel like Cam Newton is taking the steps he needs to become a better pocket passer, but still, He didn't even rush the ball that much. I feel like if he were that good of a pocket passer with 365 yards, granted he was 26 for 40, but if Cam took some on the ground, this game could have easily ended up in the New England Patriots' favor. But yet again, it wasn't. 27-20, the final score in that matchup. Moving on now to the dumpster fire of the NFC East, the Cleveland Browns. I'm not sure what the deal is with the Browns, but they just love playing in the bad weather. And the Cleveland Browns are 7-3. Who would have thought at the beginning of the season we could say that the Cleveland Browns would be 7-3 going into Week 12? I surely would not have expected that. It was a sloppy game, absolutely. But, man, I tell you what, Carson Wentz got beat up all day. The Eagles have no offensive line. Plain and simple. I'm not sure if it's time for the Eagles to move on to for Jalen Hurts. I just think there might need to be a change. I know there are deeper issues, bigger issues, but is Carson Wentz producing the way you want? If he isn't, if Eagles fans, if you're listening to this, and if he isn't the answer, what you are looking for, I think it's time you need to try out Jalen Hurts. And I hate to say that Carson's a great quarterback, great person all around, but still, you're looking at this 3-6-1 Eagles team in a crappy NFC East division, and anything's up in the air. Anything. And you could still win with a losing record, unfortunately, but still. If you want to try to find a way to win and Carson Wentz isn't doing it for you, I don't see why you don't turn to Jalen Hurts. But anyways, looking at this game, Wentz 21 for 35, 235 yards, 2 touchdowns, but 2 interceptions. The Browns defense stepping up. Baker 12 for 22, 204, no touchdowns, no interceptions. But Nick Chubb in this game, I'll tell you what, that's the player of the game. That's hands down the player of the game. He had an impressive game. The Eagles' defense, unfortunately, did not play well and did not adapt to Nick Chubb and running all over the field. And if I didn't mention this earlier, the weather conditions were sloppy and rainy and muddy. So this played a factor for both teams. I mean, anytime it rains and it's cold and it's muddy, you're going to have an issue. You're really going to have an issue trying to play good football. It's just plain and simple. But Nick Chubb in this game, absolutely outstanding. But other than that, I didn't really want to go into this game much in depth. But Cleveland, 7-3 going into Week 12. I really do not think... I really don't think that I would have expected this if somebody were to tell me before the season started that Cleveland would be 7-3 going into Week 12. Cleveland 22, Philadelphia 17. The next game on the list is the Tennessee Titans and the Baltimore Ravens. The Titans take this game in overtime 30-24. And my goodness, Baltimore, you need to hit the panic button now. It's not funny. It's not good. Baltimore has dropped to 6-4. Hit the panic button. Looking at this game, Lamar Jackson only 186 yards with a touchdown and an interception. I mean, Baltimore just does not look explosive. They do not look like the same Ravens team that played earlier last season or earlier this season. And yeah, they've dropped, and I don't think they're going to turn it around. I really don't. You look at Derrick Henry, scores the game-winning touchdown in overtime, picked apart every aspect of the Baltimore defense. 28 carries, 133 yards. I mean, the hands down, Derrick Henry, almost won them this football game. Won them the football game in the sense that he scored the game-winning touchdown in overtime, but still, the defense just could not handle Derrick Henry at all. Absolutely not. And that's one of the main reasons why they lost. If you can't handle one of the best running backs in the league, Baltimore, they are. I don't really know what to say about them. I really, really don't. This game was sort of evenly matched with one turnover each, but still, I feel like I really feel like Baltimore needs to fix something to make them more explosive. And I'm really at a loss for words for Baltimore, but Tennessee 7-3. Congratulations. Tannehill 22 for 31, 259 yards with 2 touchdowns and an interception. But Derrick Henry, we can talk about stats all day, but Derrick Henry, if your defense cannot stop Derrick Henry, it's slim to none that you're going to win this game. And I feel like that is exactly what happened. The Tennessee Titans 30 and the Baltimore Ravens 24 in overtime. The next game, this situation is very odd. I'm not really sure what to think of it, but the Denver Broncos get a win against the Miami Dolphins, and the Dolphins drop to 6-4 after a 2-3 game winning streak. Let's talk about this. So the Miami Dolphins, Tua, 11 for 20, 83 yards and a touchdown. And then he gets pulled. So I'm like, wait, why did he get pulled? Apparently, he's been dealing with a foot injury earlier this week before the Sunday's game against the Broncos. So I'm not really sure if that had anything to do with it, and apparently he got rolled up as well on one of the plays. I think he got sacked or something, but he got rolled up, and apparently he got pulled for ineffectiveness or something like that. So I don't want to. I know I talked about the Dolphins and apologized because Tua was looking pretty good. But after the comments he made saying, this is too easy, and seeing him get pulled again, I don't want to go off the deep edge, but I'm not going to make any assumptions or anything about this until I find out more. But that's what I have heard, that Tua had an ankle foot injury earlier in the week, and that could have played a factor. So if that's the case, as always, Fitzmagic came in, and they weren't able to get the job done. 12 for 18, 117 yards and an interception on their comeback drive trying to win the game. So, let's think of it this way. If Fitzpatrick comes in next week, could it be to his ankle, or did Brian Flores make the decision that maybe Tua isn't ready? Those are the two avenues I am thinking, but I'm not going to make a prediction on what will happen for next week for the Miami Dolphins, as they are facing off the Dolphins, I believe, against the New York Jets. Yes, the Jets. Took me a minute. Man, I don't know. But anyways, they're facing off against the Jets next week. The Jets are 0-10. So we'll just have to see where everything plays out there. The Miami Dolphins defeat against the Denver Broncos 20-13 as Denver takes a much-needed win. moving on to another great game, the Indianapolis Colts and the Green Bay Packers. And boy, I've said this multiple times. I will say it again. Turnovers will shoot you in the foot. Green Bay with 3 lost fumbles. Aaron Rodgers with an interception. The Colts capitalized, and Rodrigo Blankenship nailed a game winner in overtime. I mean, hats off to Aaron Rodgers. He made a comeback drive to tie the game up, send it to overtime. Aaron Rodgers played a pretty decent game, 27 for 38, 311 yards. And, straight up, Indianapolis capitalized. And Phillip Rivers looked good as well. For his age, Phillip Rivers is looking incredible. And I just love it. I love it because people were sort of writing him off as sort of going to be a bust in Indianapolis. But Indianapolis is looking good. They're 7-3. There's a chance that they could see playoffs this year. And the Packers, I'm not really sure if you need to exactly hit a panic button or anything. They're 7-3 with this loss. But, still, Rodgers looked good. The receivers looked good. Devontae Adams, 7 receptions, 106 yards. But I'm telling you, you got to hold on to the football. Hands down, you have to hold on to the football. There's no ifs, ands, or buts. You have 3-4 turnovers. 4 turnovers are not going to win you a football game. And the Indianapolis Colts capitalized off those turnovers. The Indianapolis Colts 34, Green Bay 31. All right, let's discuss 3 more games quickly before we move on to line them up with Zach Ruff. The Dallas Cowboys, a much-needed win over the Minnesota Vikings. The Vikings defense just was not there. Still young, trying to gain that chemistry, in my opinion. And Andy Dalton, first game back after battling COVID-19. 22 for 32, 203 yards with 3 touchdowns and an interception. Kirk Cousins, he had a pretty good ball game. 22 for 30, 314, and 3 touchdowns. Straight up, you look at this Vikings team, and the receiving core is looking great. Adam Thielen, 8 receptions, 123 yards. Justin Jefferson, 3 receptions for 86 yards. And you have Dalvin Cook having another great game, over 100 yards rushing. The Dallas Cowboys, though, they were just able to make plays. They weren't really able to make that many plays in past weeks. And with Andy Dalton back, their starting quarterback, he looked decent. And apparently I heard something in the news that Mike McCarthy was smashing watermelons with sledgehammers to get the Cowboys fired up to play this game. So, hey, Mike, whatever floats your boat. The Dallas Cowboys in that game, 31-20, once again, as Zeke Elliott had over 100 yards rushing in that game as well. And Amari Cooper, the lead receiver in that game as well. The Kansas City Chiefs get a revenge win over the Las Vegas Raiders in Las Vegas. Came down to the last few minutes, and Patrick Mahomes makes a comeback drive and hits Travis Kelce in the end zone. Mahomes looked pretty good, 34, 45, 348 with 2 touchdowns and an interception. Carr, 3 touchdowns and an interception with 275 yards. But to briefly recap this game, the Chiefs are 9-1. This was a game that the Chiefs did not want to lose. And that last effort drive I feel like it was the Chiefs just saying, hey, The Raiders beat us last time. We want revenge. And that's what they essentially gave to the Raiders, excuse me. But other than that, I mean, the rushing game, 108 total rushing yards. It wasn't all there, but Kelsey and Tyreek Hill, two receivers. Kelsey had over 120 catching yards. Hill had about over 100 with 102. So Patrick Mahomes had the weapons to throw to. And, I mean, Derek Carr did as well with Waller and Nelson Aguilar. But this was a evenly matched game, and I feel like the Chiefs just did not want to lose to this Raiders team again because it was close the first time, and in this game, it was close once again. Last but not least, and I'll sort of go into this one with a little bit of depth, the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, their primetime record is just not good this year. They got blown out by the Saints in primetime, and it was a close matchup against the Rams as the Rams defeat the Buccaneers 27-24, but the Rams come out on the winning side of the football. Straight up, I'll tell you this. You have Ronald Jones. You have Leonard Fournette for Tampa Bay, obviously, and combined rushing 42 yards. I know I went off when you only had 8 yards rushing. Do you think 42 yards rushing is going to get it done? Do you think it's going to get it done? I will leave that for my listeners to answer. I already know the answer, but 42 yards, will that get it done? Tom Brady, 26 for 48, 216 with 2 touchdowns and 2 interceptions. Antonio Brown, he actually had some pretty good catches, 8 receptions, 57 yards. He's back in the mix. Don't know how long he'll last, though. But the question is, why is Tampa Bay's record in primetime so bad? You see them play the Panthers, and Ronald Jones looks unstoppable. Takes a career long to the house. A handoff to the house. For crying out loud, in this game against the Rams, I mean, yes, you're facing the Rams, and the Rams, one of the best defenses in the league, but still, run the football. I don't think you lost confidence that fast because you didn't run, because you knew you were coming in facing the Rams. You have Aaron Donald, for crying out loud. This defense is good. It is really good, and who knows? I don't want to say Tampa Bay got scared, but I sure do feel like they probably got scared. But anyways, Jordan Fuller, player of the game. That's my player of the game for the Rams on defense. Picked off Tom Brady not once, but twice in this game. So it was great to see it. It was mainly on both sides of the football a passing attack, not so much a running attack. And as always, the Rams defense, pressuring Tom Brady a lot. Only 1 sack on Tom Brady in this game. But as the Rams take it 27-24, it was a very close game. You got to run the football, Tampa Bay. You got to continue to run the football. And, I beat the bush. I literally beat the bush all the time and say, you got to run the football. You got to be three-dimensional. So you have heard me say it over and over and over for countless times. Los Angeles 27, Tampa Bay 24. Coming up, line them up with Zach Ruff. When we return, we'll bring you some nuggets and what to look out for Week 12 in the National Football League. Hey, Zach, take it away.
All right, welcome to the Week 11 edition of Line 'em Up. I'm Zach Ruff of ProFootballAction.com and at the ZachMamba24 on Twitter. Let's get right into it. First up, 3 Thanksgiving matchups. First, we've got the Houston Texans at Detroit Lions. The Texans are the favorites at -3, and the over-under is 51. The Texans beat the Patriots 27-20 in Week 11. They're 3-7 against the spread, including 1-4 at home. Deshaun Watson threw for 344 yards and 2 touchdowns. Only 55 rushing yards from the Texans on the day, but J.J. Watt did deflect 4 passes and make his presence felt. The Lions are 3-6-1 against the spread and have not covered at home yet this season. They were shut out by the Panthers, who didn't have Christian McCaffrey, and gave up 20 to former XFL standout P.J. Walker. Matt Stafford was 18 of 33 with no touchdowns last week. I'm taking the Texans -3 and the under, as combined the teams are 11-9 in over-unders so far this year. Next up, we've got the Washington football team at the Dallas Cowboys. The line is Dallas -3. The over-under is 46.5. Washington got back on track against the Bengals last week, though Alex Smith struggled for 166 yards, 1 touchdown, and 1 pick. Chase Young forced a fumble, and Antonio Gibson averaged 5.9 yards per carry and added a score. The Cowboys had a statement win against the Vikings. Ezekiel Elliott finally broke the 100-yard rushing mark. Tony Pollard added 60 yards and a 42-yard touchdown. And CeeDee Lamb made a phenomenal touchdown catch, 1 of 3 from Andy Dalton in his return. The defense also forced 2 fumbles against the Vikings. Both teams are tied for second place in the division with the Giants. Dallas is 2-8 against the spread this season, and Washington is 4-4-2. Chase Young is coming into his own, and I look at him to shine on the big stage on Thanksgiving. Give me the football team and the under. Ravens at Steelers, finishing up our Thanksgiving games. The Steelers are a -4.5 favorite. Over-under is 45. Baltimore fell to 6-4 against the Titans in overtime. They are 4-5-1 against the spread this season and 4-6 in over-unders. Lamar Jackson threw 2 picks against the Steelers in their first meeting this season, but the rushing game was fantastic, putting up 265 yards for 5.6 yards per carry. Pittsburgh traded punts with the Jaguars the entire third quarter last week, but still won the game 27-3. The defense picked off Jake Luton 4 times and only allowed 206 total yards. There are only a few more reasonable chances for Pittsburgh to lose this season, and this week is one of them. They're 8-2 against the spread, but I trust their defense much more than I trust Lamar Jackson and company. Steelers -4.5 and the over. As of today, November 23rd, here are a few picks for Sunday. I'm taking the Dolphins -6.5 over the Jets. Tua's returning after that terrible performance last week. The Cardinals I'm taking at -2.5 over the Patriots. And, surprise of the week, the Chargers +5.5 over the Bills. I think that game is closer than that. As always, thanks for listening to Line 'em Up on the Kirby on Sports podcast. I'm Zach Ruff, and for more NFL betting tips and analysis, find me at ProFootballAction.com and at the ZachMamba24 on Twitter. Now, back to Josh.
Thanks so much, Zach, as always, for Line 'em Up on the Kirby on Sports podcast. Let's give you some nuggets to round out the show here. Tough scene in Washington as Joe Burrow tears his ACL. He's out for the season as Washington defeats the Cincinnati Bengals 20-9, the first overall pick in the NFL draft. You can't help but feel sorry for the man. He's played decent for the Bengals, but you can't help but feel sorry for Joe Burrow. Everything he's gone through to get to this point, and his season is over due to an ACL injury. Hate to say it, thoughts and prayers go out to Joe Burrow and his family. You just hate to see it. That's all I have to say about it. Next, Taysom Hill takes the quarterback position for an injured Drew Brees with a collapsed lung and multiple fractured ribs. He goes 18 for 23, 233 yards in the air, and he rushed for 2 touchdowns as well over Atlanta. They defeated the Atlanta Falcons 24-9 in that football game. I'm not really sure if we're going to be seeing Jameis Winston at all. I feel like the Saints are dead set on Taysom Hill. I know our contributor Dan Dembski says that Taysom Hill is overrated, but still, I feel like Taysom Hill is a Swiss Army knife. And I feel like Jameis Winston might get used for some situations for the Saints. And that's what sets the Saints apart from any other team in the league, because they use Taysom Hill. And Taysom Hill is a Swiss Army knife. And he can do literally anything: kick returns, wide receiver, running back, quarterback, defense. You name it, he can pretty much do it. Next, Adam Gase of the 0-10 Jets. Has he been fired yet? I did not hear anything. He has not been fired yet. Why isn't he fired? The Jets are 0-10. Where's the production? New York falls to Los Angeles 34-28. Come on, boys. Come on, like for real. Frank Gore came out with a statement saying, I want to win at least one game, because Frank Gore is getting old. You don't know if he's going to retire at the end of this season or not, but still, Adam Gase needs to go. His tenure, his time in New York is up, and I'm not sure why he's still there. Last but not least, Panthers. Teddy Bridgewater was a no-go. Leg injury. Leg still wasn't feeling right. So P.J. Walker comes in and defeats the Lions 30-0. 20-0. P.J. Walker undefeated in the XFL with the Houston Roughnecks and keeps the undefeated streak alive. So an XFL quarterback getting some NFL playing time. It's great to see it. And that was P.J. Walker once again of the Houston Roughnecks in the XFL. And boy, does the XFL seem like forever ago. All right, it's time for what to look out for week number 12 in the National Football League. And it's Thanksgiving. We have 3 exciting Thanksgiving Day games. You got 12:30 on CBS, the Houston Texans and the Detroit Lions. 4:30, the Washington Football Team and the Dallas Cowboys. And 8:20, the Baltimore Ravens and the Pittsburgh Steelers. Mark Ingram tested positive for COVID-19. I believe the report was made yesterday or early today. So Mark Ingram and J.K. Dobbins. Yes, J.K. Dobbins was the other name I was making sure was on that list. They both tested positive for COVID. Virtual for right now for Baltimore, but as of right now, this game is still being played. Obviously, if there's any change to that, it will be everywhere. It will be on Kirby on Sports on Twitter as well. But I'm looking out forward to Thanksgiving. Nothing beats eating turkey and watching football. And on Sunday, what I like to see, potentially a game to look out for, Kansas City and Tampa Bay. I feel like that could be one of the more exciting games on this slate. But yet again, Thanksgiving and just that, Kansas City and Tampa Bay. Sunday night matchup, obviously the Green Bay Packers and the Chicago Bears, a good NFC North rivalry. But I'm not sure how good that would be. But anyways, just enjoy Thanksgiving. That's what to look out for. Turkey and football. That's what you got to look out for, seriously, folks. Turkey, mashed potatoes, gravy, and football. You have 3 games to watch. Nothing beats it. Nothing beats it. So with that being said, I hope each and every one of you enjoy your Thanksgiving. I know it's going to be very different in the circumstances we are in with COVID-19 and everything, but as always, I'm thankful for each and every one of my listeners. I'm thankful for all the support that you all have given me over the years. Thanksgiving is a great time. I know Zoom announced that they're lifting the 40-minute cap on Zoom calls. So if you're not going to see your family, you might want to hop on Zoom and have a Zoom call with your family. I know it's not the same. Trust me, I know exactly how you all feel. But you still get to connect with your family members for Thanksgiving. I'm thankful for each and every one of you all once again. Thank you so much for the support. As always, as we wrap up this edition of the Kirby on Sports podcast. As always, we're sponsored by PM Plus Reserves in Regroup Building Services. Big thanks as always to MPT Now Productions, Dave Johnson, and productions by Quet. You can catch the Kirby on Sports podcast on all streaming platforms. Anchor.fm/the Kirby on Sports podcast. Until the next episode, I wish each and every one of you a safe and happy Thanksgiving. Enjoy the 3 slate of games on Thursday. Enjoy week number 12. I hope you enjoyed listening to another edition of the Kirby on Sports podcast. Till the next time, always continue to create greatness, and we will catch you next time. Peace out.